Fish scare me, but I started to get accustomed to them. Now, I don't even know if you could see it too well in this picture, but along with the fish, there are two big stingrays there at the bottom of the ocean there. Now, these things are like bigger than me, and you get to kind of swim with them and whatever, and there's me saying, okay, snorkeling is not that bad after all. You know, it's okay. So snorkeling was a new experience for me. Eating seafood was a new experience for me. Like, I can eat sushi and stuff like that, that's fine. But I mean these weird, exotic, alive, moving kind of things. Cook it, please. Yeah. So seafood was a new thing for me, something that I don't usually do. And the most famous restaurant in Bora Bora is a restaurant called Bloody Mary's. All the celebs go there to experience their seafood. And this is kind of how it works. You get in the restaurant, and they take you right to the left inside the door, and they show you their catch of the day. Everything that they caught that day, salmon, mahi, all these other fish I can't even describe, know what they're like, lobsters, all this. And this is fish that's caught 700 meters below sea level. Like, these are some serious, high-quality, sushi-grade fish. Now, we decided to opt in and go with the lobster. It's delicious. Right? Very kind of new. It's all we ate. So that was kind of a new experience. On top of that, we went swimming with sharks. Anyone ever do that? Now, first, I don't like water. Oh, yeah, it's fun, huh? Not really. I don't like open water. And so what happens is you get in this tour boat type thing with, maybe 20 other people, and they drive around the lagoon areas, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they stop. They start throwing dead fish overboard to attract the sharks. And when the sharks come, they're like, okay, everybody, jump in. Like, no pre-warning, no nothing, no instruction on avoid, just go ahead and jump in. We're like, oh, Lord Jesus. So here's where you see they start throwing the food. You can see a couple of the lemonhead sharks there, little guys. Well, little guys, littler than me, man. Little sharks there. And then this is now underwater. You can start seeing how close the sharks actually get. That's Anna with the shark right behind her there. And then that's sharks getting a little bit closer to you. And this is sharks getting even closer to you. Even closer, and then Anna freaked out and she tried to kick one. Get away from me. So swimming with sharks was an amazing first-time experience. And then there are rays. Everybody say rays. Now, to put this into context for you, it is a ray that ended up killing this guy, Steve Irwin. Do you remember that? Now, this is a ray. This is what a ray looks like. Eyes on the top, big, wide, floppy with the long tail, and that's what killed him. Not too long before we left, right? And then like, okay, we're going to go ray feeding now. Okay, great. So this is us ray feeding. You go into the lagoon. It's about this high in water, and they start, again, getting dead fish, and they're throwing it all over. And this is Anna kind of cautious. You see her? Kind of like, with the ray that's under the ground approaching her. Now, we were told that rays can smell fear like dogs. So the ray, I think, knew Anna was scared and decided to attack her. You can see her screaming, "Wah!" Right? And the Samoan guy is trying to protect her. And so she's like, you know what? I had enough of this. That's her in the corner. Hey, hell no. I don't want that. I had enough of the rays, thanks very much. And so she came into the boat. She's like, Nick, go in there and talk with the ray. So I'm like, okay. So I go in and I talk with the ray. I'm putting him in a rear naked choke, right? I'm saying, look, you don't do this to my wife, think I'm all tough. And so after our little discussion with the ray and whatnot, Anna and the ray became friends. And see how shallow that water is? It's ankle deep, and the rays come right up to it and try and suck on your foot. I mean, so that was a new experience for me. Rays. Spa. Spa was a new experience for me because I don't like people touching me, right? Especially like greased up men and stuff, no thanks. So I don't like spa, I don't do massage, I don't do any of that kind of thing. But Anna's like, oh, spa, and look, she loves spa, this man is spa there or whatever. So we go into the spa, and this is, you gotta understand where I'm coming from. I'm a modest guy, I'm like, so like, I'm asking Anna, because I've never been to a spa before, I'm like, it's like, do I have to be like naked when I go in there? Like, are they going to touch me? Yeah, I'm not down with that kind of thing, you know? And so they gave us these wrap things. Now, if you look very carefully, they're made out of a nice soft cloth, right? White cloth. And the first thing they tell you to do is go into the steam room. Right? So the steam room, you start sweating, you start seeing through the cloth. I'm like, this is no good. But anyways, the big Samoan woman, you know, big women, they just start putting their elbow and their feet in you, and it actually feels quite good. But anyway, that was the next lesson that I learned. Sometimes you got to step out of your comfort zone. Sometimes we've got to get out of the boat. That's what God was saying to me. You know, sometimes you got to literally get out of the boat. Remember when Peter walked on water? Let's read this real quick, and we'll move through this a little quicker. Matthew 14, 22 to 31. Jesus immediately made his disciples get into the boat, go before him to the other side while he sent the multitudes away. And when he had sent the multitudes away, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray. Now when the evening came, they were all alone, and the boat was now in the middle of the sea, being tossed by the waves, for the wind was contrary. Now on the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went to them walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw him, they kind of freaked out, and they said, "Oh my gosh, it's a ghost," and they cried out in fear. But immediately Jesus spoke to them, saying, "Hey, be of good cheer, relax. It is I, do not be afraid." And Peter said, "Lord, if it's you, tell me to come out on the water." So he said, "Come." And when Peter had drawn out of the boat, he walked on the water to Jesus. But when he saw that the wind was boisterous, he was afraid. Beginning to sink, he cried out, saying, "Lord, save me." The Lord stretched out his hand, saved him, and said, "O ye of little faith." Now, there's so much to say about this parable. We're not going to, not this story, but we're not going to get into it. But just like Peter, if we want to experience new things in life, we got to be prepared to get out of the boat. Everybody say, get out of the boat. We got to step out of our comfort zone. You know, I'm known for saying, if you want to go places you've never gone before, you're going to have to start doing things you've never done before. Anyone know what the definition of insanity is? You probably heard it 100 times. Insanity is defined as doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting a different result. How many people in churches do the same thing over and over again, yet they expect that something different happen? And we got to get out of our, so in fact, you know, faith is going to require you to step out on the limb. God's going to ask you to leave your comfort zone, because the fruit is always out on the limb. I remember, I don't know if any of you have had the privilege of seeing a Vector Marketing Cutco knife presentation. Anybody? Nat? Did anyone work for them? Don't be ashamed. Go ahead. Go on. I see your hand. Yes, God bless you. I see your hand. God bless you. God bless you. I had the privilege of working for Vector Marketing as a Cutco knife salesman. My first job after high school, I opened up an ad. The ad said in the newspaper, earn $16.54 an hour. I'm like, heck yeah. Minimum wage was like $4.85. I went to this interview. The guy got in front of you. He cut a knife in half. He's like, this is what you're going to be doing. I'm like, great. You know? And I took this job. Now, I started selling knives to people. And within a week, I got my first promotion. Within 3 months, I was a manager. Within 6 months, they gave me my own branch office. I was working 80-hour work week, but heck, I was making a killing. And God approached me and he said, "You have a choice, Nick. Are you a minister or a business person?" I said, "Well, how about I do ministry on the side and I make a killing selling knives?" He says, "No, you got to choose right now." At that time in my life, now it's a little different. But he said, at that time in my life, you got to choose. What are you going to do, one or the other? And I had to make a choice to walk away from a very hefty income in order to start ministry, where I got paid like $200 a month and try to live off that. It was a challenge. God asked me to step out of my comfort zone. God asked me to take a risk, called me out, and I did it. And even to this day, God has put some things on my heart where he's called me to step out of it. For example, he's called me to start an international Bible school online and in Toronto. And I've been sitting on that for years, scared to do it. But he's telling me, just like in Bora Bora, get out of the boat, take the risk, have faith. There are people in here who God has been calling you to do something, working in your heart for so long, but you've been afraid. Well, what if I drown? What if you don't? And even if you do you not believe Jesus will be there to pick you right up and help you out? Get out of your comfort zone, step out. And here's an example. I don't know if you're familiar with helmet diving. I'm not a qualified diver, but usually people that go to these places are qualified to dive. I wasn't. So for people like us, they have what they call helmet diving. And it's where you have these like spacesuit helmets that you put on, and it's got a long oxygen tube that goes 30 meters up to the boat, and you can walk on the bottom of the sea and still breathe. And so that's what we try, is helmet diving. That's us under the water with these things on. And you can breathe, but you can't really hear anybody around you. Like, you pretend to talk, but